Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to my very first game on Deity in Civilization VII. I'm actually doing not that bad. I've carved out a nice little corner in the map over here. I am right next to Xerxes on the other hand, who is not only aggressive, he's doing really well, so I might need to deal with that in this episode. I'm also going to try and finish the first age in this particular episode. We're about halfway through. I mean, it says 38%, but the end tends to speed up a little bit. In the meanwhile, the, what are they all again? Mayans? Yeah, the Mayans have been expanding quite rapidly across the island. That means Isabella is not really a problem for me. I mean, I'm friendly with her. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what this guy is doing, but well, first of all, he's doing really well in terms of just how much stuff he's producing, but his expansion pattern is a little bit wonky. That is an opportunity maybe in the long run where I can just take out a couple of these villages, but I don't want to be kind of like stuck in between three enemies, especially not with Xerxes and his entire army on his side as well. Okay, Isabella, I appreciate that you also want to be friends, but do you really have to request a farmer's market when I am exactly one influence short of supporting this and boosting our relationship? I mean, come on. Okay, so we got our first Missisipian civic unlocked. That means that we are now a little bit faster in producing every single building in the game, so that's useful. And we also have our special building, which honestly is not that interesting. It's kind of like a food building that also gives you some gold, but it is ageless, so that's important to note at this point. Every ageless building is going to carry over to the next age as well, and will still give us a benefit then. If you have non-ageless buildings, they will just become obsolete and basically do nothing. Well, Isabella is on a roll. She just asked for open markets, and now I can actually support it, so let's go ahead and do that. This will give us a boost to the relationship as well, so hopefully we become allies pretty soon. And would you look at that, we just got our third city-state, and I'm going to go for Arch, because that's going to give me 5% production towards constructing wonders for every city-state I'm suzerain of, which is 3, so 15% production is quite a bit. Well, that doesn't look good. This, however, looks very good.
Sons bury fathers, but in war, fathers bury sons.
Oh, interesting. I really like the animations of this thing being built. The storm in the background is kind of silly though. But yeah, our first wonder is now complete. It's worth noting that some of these special buildings tend to be relatively cheap. If you look, for example, at the pot cop, it's only 30 production cost, while a garden would cost me 3 times as much. Obviously, they're not going to be super strong, but they do tend to be ageless, so again, that carries over to the next exploration age as well. And it also feels like that every now and then when you first build something special to your particular nation, like the pot cop, for example, that can trigger an event. And this one is actually pretty huge. You can get 150 culture or 150 signs. I'm going to go for the latter because that will allow me to unlock my new units. Because it instantly unlocks bronze working, which means we now get the tier 2 burning arrows, and we also get access to the spearmen, along with the barracks. Barracks are going to be very useful if we want to keep up our production and churn out more units. So I'm going to take full advantage of that and plop down a couple of barracks in my cities to churn up that production. At this point, it feels like we're leaning towards a more aggressive type of playstyle during this age, so I might as well just master bronze working as well to get more combat strength for my infantry units and get more production on those military buildings as well. And I'm building 2 of those at the moment, so this is actually a massive buff. My gold income is actually pretty decent now as well, so I'm going to spend some of that gold towards upgrading my towns, because remember, I can't actually build in here, I need to buy stuff. But things like a granary is going to be ageless, it's going to massively improve the growth of this city, and in general definitely be worth it. And things like the pot cup, for example, are really cheap to get as well, so I might as well just spend a couple of words of gold to get a permanent benefit moving forward. Okay, so I just unlocked my second civic specific to the Missisipians, and that is going to allow us to get access to shell-tempered pottery. This is a Mississippian specific civic. Now, if I take out the food to all settlements and I put this in, this will give me a +1 gold adjacency for all resources on my buildings. Now, I'm currently producing 44 gold, and I think that if I confirm this, yeah, there we go. We just gained 21 gold per turn just by slotting in that specific policy, because that just makes us a lot stronger than we were. And I probably should have focused on the civics specific to the Mississippi maybe a little bit earlier, not entirely sure. But yeah, this is going to allow me to get a lot more gold, and that's also going to allow me to start spending some of that gold other than on my cities on upgrading my units, because right now I am still at the level 1 unit, but it costs me 80 gold per unit to upgrade this. So if I take, let's say, this one over here, that is right in the center, I can start upgrading this, and it will now become a tier 2 burning arrow. These ones have 15 attack, and I believe these ones, let me double check. Yeah, they have a 20 attack, but they also have a bit more melee attack. So all in all, these are just generally better. These have a range of 2, these also have a range of 2, so that didn't change. But the bombard strength on these things is actually also higher than normal. So if I want to take the fight to Xerxes, having an upgraded army is definitely going to be needed. I'm also going to build the Monk's Mound in my capital. This is an amazing wonder to build for me, even though it might seem a little bit underwhelming at first. First of all, it has a 4 resource capacity, so that's going to double the amount of resource I can assign to my capital, which is awesome to begin with. It is also ageless, so that means I'm going to continue to get this benefit even in the future ages. On top of that, I'm actually going to get a wonder, which helps me towards my cultural path, but I'm also going to be using the resource capacity to get towards my legacy path for the economics. So this is just doing a whole lot of things at the same time, which makes this wonder way better than all the other alternatives that I have available. Alright, bronze working mastery completed, which means now I get more production on those military buildings as well as more combat strength, so we're gearing up for war quite nicely. Which also means that rather than investing more in my own economy and building up my empire, I'm actually going to churn out quite a few units now in order to take the fight to Xerxes. This is really a high risk, high reward type of strategy, because if my wars do not succeed, I am going to be massively behind as a result of that. On the other hand, if I can take at least 2 cities from Xerxes, and I should have the settlement limit in order to do that, not only do I, well, of course, expand my empire, I also take out a huge chunk of my most important competitor right now. And if I can take his capital, that is going to be amazing, because he has 2 wonders right over here. That's going to count towards my victory points rather than his if I manage to do that. And by conquering 2 settlements, I'll be progressing through the military path quite a bit as well. So long story short, if this succeeds, I'm probably going to be on top. If it doesn't, I'm going to be right there on the bottom. And would you look at that, Isabella now loves me. That is so nice, because we can form an alliance. Let's see if she accepts it. Yes, she does. So that means we are now in a formal alliance, so anyone attacking me is also going to have to deal with Isabella. Well, she only has 2 towns, so she's not necessarily the biggest competitor in the continent, but at least that is going to only be helpful to me rather than oppose me. That also means that if she gets into a war with the Mayans, which might happen considering they're kind of impeding her expansion, then I might need to fight them as well. But yeah, let's deal with that when it happens. At least with that alliance, we completed our quest and we now gain a diplomatic attribute point. For now, that point is just going to give us a little bit of influence, but if I can get another one of these points, I get a plus 50% influence bonus towards initiating befriending action. So becoming a suzerain of more city-states in the future would be a lot easier if we have this. Oh look, we actually found our very first natural wonder, the Uluru over here. That's obviously in Isabella's territory because she's all about the world wonders, or I should say the natural wonders of the world. It's next to her capital, and I think she always starts with one next to that, so makes sense. I actually haven't found any other natural wonders yet, which is quite surprising considering we explored pretty much the entire continent. And would you look at that, the Monk's Mound is done. That completed the first step towards the cultural legacy path, and of course gained me a lot of benefits as well. And I really like how this looks. Look, that's a pretty building. That also means we're going to need some more resources to allocate, because look, we have empty spots now. Oh man, I both love and hate Civilization always gives you so many choices, because I'm super tempted to pick up the Emil Bell, which would give me a diplomatic attribute point, which would be awesome to have moving forward because of that whole thing with the independent powers that I could unlock then. But yeah, I'm gonna stick to the plan for now and build a couple of more units. I also really kind of want to have a couple of more merchants to get those trade routes going, get more resources, and thereby making sure I actually use those open slots that I just gained. But yeah, I can only do one thing at a time, so let's build some more spearmen. I also decided to invest in a second army commander, and I'll send that to the front as well, because, well, having 2 of these will make sure I can fight on multiple fronts at the same time, gain a lot of experience from that, but also make sure my units are buffed while we do that. While moving my army in place, I established another trade route, and apparently that got me an economic attribute point. Now, I wish it was a little bit more clear what actually gains you these points, because you could be actively working towards it, although at the same time, just getting them organically because of things you're doing anyway does make sense. But if you want to game the system, yeah, being able to do that a little bit more natural would make a lot of sense. In this case, the economic thing is going to give me just a tiny little bit of gold. But yeah, again, if you have more of these points, then this is going to ramp up. For example, 2 gold for every active trade route can be quite strong. And of course, having that trade route also made sure I could actually fill up these slots in my main capital. And because I have 8 resources slotted in there now, I unlocked the Ming for the next age. So if I want to play these, I can. Alright, so I invested a massive amount of production into units. As you can see, I have well over a dozen units here. Actually, there's a couple of them still hiding in my second army commander. Having 2 army commanders by itself is already quite strong, honestly. Is this going to be enough on Deity to take out these 2 cities? Because remember, that is our target. I don't know, but I guess we're about to find out. Hey Xerxes, what's up? How about a formal war? If we do that, we will start with an initial war support of 2 and for them 0. This is because I built that wonder like 20 turns ago, 30 turns ago, I don't even remember. That gives us a massive amount of war support. So normally you would have to spend quite a bit of influence to get this. We are going to start out with 2 support by default. So, in case you're wondering how this works, we start the war now with 2 support. That means that he's going to get a reduction to his happiness throughout his entire empire, and also to his combat strength. So this will actually just favor me in everything we do in this war, and this will just continue to get worse for him, because of course that happiness is going to draw on his resources. Now, if I would have enough influence, I will have enough to do that next turn, I can support myself even further, and thereby increasing my own support. Now, of course, Xerxes can do the same thing with his influence, so this hopefully cancels each other out, but because we start with a +2, at least we aren't in the disadvantage to begin with. Not entirely unexpected, the Mayans also declare war on me because they smell a weak target. Now, honestly, I have my southern border quite well defended, so hopefully this won't be too much of a problem. But yeah, if you declare war on one faction and another faction has a beef with you as well, you run the risk of just going in an all-out world war with everyone against you, like what is happening now. Now, hopefully this does mean that Isabella will actually also be called to the fight, because I do have an alliance with her, so she should be helping me to fight off the Mayans as well. Attacking cities in Civilization VII works a little bit different than you might be used to. So you actually need to conquer each individual district in the city in order to take it over. Now, in order to do that, all you need to do is just attack it, and it will defend itself, especially if you do this with melee units, of course, because as you can see, these city districts have walls, so that makes them a lot stronger, but they have a melee strength. This is where my burning arrows are going to come in use, because they actually get an additional bonus to bombarding that normal archers would not have. So you definitely want to bring at least some sort of siege unit if you don't have these burning arrows with you, in order to make short work of these defenses. There's no units in here that we can see so far. They might be somewhere else in this territory, of course. I'm expecting them to show up any moment now. But yeah, don't underestimate how long it actually takes to conquer a city in Civilization VII. And would you look at that, Isabella is actually at war with both of my enemies as well, so teaming up with her was worth it. And yeah, I couldn't resist, so I went ahead and built the Emil Bell anyway, because, well, I had some production to spare, so why not? Which means I can now pick up the 50% influence bonus against initiating and progressing befriend independent actions, which is going to benefit me in the next age. I'm also going to do something that I probably should have done a little while ago, and that's to shift the town focus from my middle town over here to something different. Specifically, what I want to do is make it into a mining town, because I have quite a couple of mines and quarries over here. That is going to give it a little bit of extra production. That by itself is not going to do anything, because the production is going to be transformed into gold. But what is going to happen is that this town is now going to send all its food to the connected city. So rather than growing itself, it is actually going to grow the cities even faster than they were before. At the end of every age, you will get into a crisis. This is something that will affect all civilizations, and you can sort of control how the crisis affects you, because you are going to need to slot in some crisis policy slots. For example, I can now pick it between getting more science but less gold in my science buildings, or I can choose between getting additional happiness but less gold. Now, I have plenty of gold, and actually I wouldn't mind some more science, so I'm actually going to do that, and hopefully that will not turn around to bite me in the ass. So, if I'm understanding how this works correctly, now I took down the defenses of the 3rd district, I should be able to take the spearmen and move them in and capture the city. And there we go! We just got another step towards our legacy path. And once you conquer a settlement, you can decide to either keep it, you will get a pretty hefty happiness penalty until this actually is completely assimilated into your empire, or you can raise it. Raising is something that will completely destroy a city over a number of turns, and is going to make every single war in the future quite painful. So typically you do not want to do this unless you have a very good reason to do so. So while the war was going on, I decided why not just build another wonder, and that actually pushed me up to the 2nd stage of the legacy path for the cultural path. Kind of strange considering I was doing anything but focus on culture, but there we are. Okay, so a little bit of a time jump here, because fighting wars in Civilization VII, as in any Civilization game, honestly, especially on higher difficulties, is quite a tedious process. The enemy has been making me fight for every single inch of land, which makes sense, of course, but still, takes a little bit of time. Either way, I am now surrounding the capital, and as you can see, there's just units popping up left and right. So if you're at some point like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this war, you can always just go and propose peace, and what you would typically see is that the enemy is very likely to even want to give you cities. Might be able to get 2 cities, I don't know. Well, no, 2 cities is a little bit too much apparently, but giving me his biggest city, yeah, no problem whatsoever. So I can just end the war now, keep the city I already have, get another city on top of that, and just leave Xerxes with the 3 that he has remaining, and focus on my empire once again. That is, of course, not what I will be doing, because I want these wonders over here, these world wonders that are going to benefit me for the next couple of ages, but also should get me to the cultural victory points. And there we go. Took me another 6 turns or so to actually get the capital, but we are ready and good to go now. Now, it doesn't actually make a lot of sense to start conquering all these other cities, because if I do that, I'm going to be way over my city limit. And there's a way easier way to get these cities. So, let's see about that war. Let's propose peace once again. This is the city down south, and he actually also took a neutral city, and it looks like he actually will accept peace with 2 cities now. I took his capital, and he's just gonna let me keep this capital. There's 3 wonders in here, so this should be enough to push me over the limit. Let's propose this alliance. There we go, and now we got the whole boost to the end of the military legacy path. I'm a little bit confused. I did get 7 wonders, yes, construct wonders, 7 out of 7. Why are you not giving me the progress? What am I missing? House 7 world wonders in your empire. Yeah, I built 4, and I just got 3 more. Why are you not giving me this? Okay, this is really confusing. I am completely lost here. The wonders are right here in the city. I actually got the free military commander from the Terracotta army as well. So the wonders are working. They are in my empire. I'm getting their benefits. I am just not getting the legacy progress for them. Might be because my city is still in revolt. That would be weird, but because I'm getting all the other benefits. Oh, maybe it's because I still have to decide what to do with them. Okay, let's keep this settlement, even though it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's going to count towards my progression. Yeah, did that do anything? Nope, doesn't look like it. That is really, really strange. But yeah, anyway, let's check out our progress. So apparently we're not going to get a golden age for the culture. Again, still not sure why. We got one for the military. We're also not going to get one for the science, although we've not been doing bad. But there's no way I'm going to get 4 more codices in the 10% of the age that we have left. I also don't really have the science production for that. So this is not going to happen, but getting 2 points is, I think, pretty good. I'm really wondering if we can complete this one, because honestly all we need is some more resources in our empire. I mean, we still need 6, 7 more. How many do we have? Can I see that? So we have 14. Oh, that's the quest. The quest is for 14, so we need 7 more, I believe. Now, that's actually pretty doable, I believe. Let's check this out. I can actually just assign something to my capital. There we go, that's the second milestone. Then all I need to do is actually just get a couple more going in all my other cities. We actually do need some more resource in order to be able to do that. But there's a couple more resources on the map that I might be able to grab, like this wool over here, for example, should be in range of... Is it in range? Yeah, it should be in range of this city, so if we can have this grow a little bit, that should be fine. But the main thing that I can do to just get more resources is send out a couple of these merchants in order to get trade routes going. And another little time skip here, because honestly nothing really happened in between, but the major thing that I did find was this camel over here near the capital, or the ex-capital I should say, of Xerxes. Now, the camels actually increase the number of resources that you can assign to a city by 2, and of course it's a resource themselves. So this actually got me exactly the slots that I needed, along with this single wool over here, because if I now go to the economic victory thing, there you go, you can see we have all the resources that we need. If I go to my allocation of the resources, I have everything allocated, with the exception of this city, and this is the city over here that we got all the way in the bottom from Xerxes. For some reason, this is not connected to the network, even though I did establish some trade routes with these cities over here. I figured that might just connect everything up. Apparently it didn't. So how that is supposed to work, I don't know, because I can't find it anywhere. I mean, really, the developers made a really entertaining, fun game to play, but actually finding information about what's going on and why things are not working. I mean, we have the Civilization over here, but if I try to find, let's say, well, the good example from earlier was burning. Sure, you can find the burning arrow, and you can find that that does something to make a burning status to a tile. I can't click on this, there's no burning status registered in this entire thing. I still have no idea why my wonders are not counting towards my victory either. I mean, you can see over here, I have 4 out of 7, but if I again then go to my unlocks, and I go to my ageless rewards, you can see 7 wonders right there. The wonders are in my territory. They're going to carry over to the next age. They're just not counting. So I don't know. You tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I'm missing. The more important part is that I got to the end of Deity on my first playthrough without any mementos, without an optimized combination of the leader and the civilization, and I was still able to beat out, well, almost beat out the AI. I mean, I have the same amount of points. I would have had 1 more point if my wonders would have counted, so I'm gonna claim that victory either way. And honestly, if you look at the production, it is insane what some of the AIs can do. I mean, obviously we are pulling quite a bit of head on some things like, for example, science compared to most, and especially on gold, but look at the production over here that Pachacuti has going on. 363 science, that's 5 times as much as what I have. And I'm not even going to talk about the culture, because even though Isabella is doing great on culture, 250 culture. I mean, this guy is just plowing through the technology tree, through the civics tree. He should have everything unlocked. He has a pretty large empire as a result of that as well. I don't know what's going on over here, but he actually didn't send more than a couple of units towards me during the entire war either. I made peace with him after I made peace with Xerxes as well. But yeah, there seems to be something a little bit weird about the combat AI over here. He made peace with Isabella quite quickly, so I was expecting to see his armies popping up any moment, but for some reason that never happened. But yeah, that means we have come to the end of the Antiquity Age, and that kind of will mean that we get a reset for our game, moving on to the Exploration Age. You also get a little bit of a cutscene.
These were the tribute given to the Missisipians.
There we go. Just wanted to make sure she was done talking. It's a civilization specific cutscene, but it's a really minor. This is all there is to it. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's still kind of nice to have it. The most important part, however, is that if I can click this, we are now going to be moving on to the next age. Not gonna lie, still a little bit salty that the 3 wonders that I captured from Xerxes are still counting towards his progress rather than mine. Other than that, it's a pretty successful first game. I'm actually not going to make a series about the exploration in the modern age, because mostly the interest in this series seems to be pretty low. Understandably, honestly, Civilization is not necessarily something you want to watch in detail, but I do think there seems to be a lot of interesting people needing help with this game, because this game is quite complicated. So what I'm going to do instead is spend some more of my time and attention on making some guides for this game, because honestly, hopefully I've proven by now I know fairly well how to play Civilization games. I've only been playing these since I was like 3, so I know I've got a little bit of a head start compared to some people. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do moving forward in the next couple of days. So I hope you still enjoyed this episode. If you are still here, you are definitely awesome, because I highly enjoyed sharing this with all of you. And I definitely hope to catch you in the next one.